Okay, everyone, so we have researched, we readied our presentation, we practiced already, we created our sales process, we started looking at how are we going to follow up with people, okay? We practiced our elevator pitch, our presentation, our 30-second presentation, 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 30-minute presentation. You practiced. You started learning the basics about objection blocking, about rebuttal tactics, how to be able to start researching what are the pain points that they are facing right now when you already know that. You created your educational-based marketing materials, right? You made your videos, you made your how-to handouts, okay? And you're ready for your presentation. So what's next? Well, time to go and attack. You're ready. We need to start using what we've learned, use the tactics, and actually start going out there. Now, there's two ways to do things when you attack. Number one, you just attack. You just start going to these facilities and start getting ready and start going in, getting those presentations, trying to get in front of the people right away. Or, number two, you try to set up your appointments. You do your cold calls. Now, a lot of people would rather do either. They don't want to do any of them. Okay? So here's the thing. Walking in cold is a perfect thing to do. I actually enjoy that part. But if you can call and try to set up the appointments, with that said, you have higher chances of closing. Okay? So let's go ahead and start looking at making the phone calls. Okay, so if you're going to be making a phone call first to set up appointments, you're going to then try to get a hold of the social worker. Now, we have a cold calling program where it fully details the cold call, all the tips and tricks to be able to get past those gatekeepers. And this is something that you should be ready and you should actually take advantage of. Okay, because guess what? When you make that phone call, you're going to have that gatekeeper that's going to say, well, they're not available or they're not in at this moment. Okay, so typically when we get past those gatekeepers, if you start learning all the basic techniques, one thing that I want to put here that I love to use when it's in the cold call, so I want to be able to give you guys some ideas, is that if I know the name of that potential referral source, the social worker, for example, or the discharge planner, what I'm going to say is, when I call, I'm not going to say, hi, can I speak to your social worker? Or, hi, can I speak to the discharge planner? No. That's not what I'm going to do, and that's not how I'm going to be able to ask. Another thing I won't do is use their last name. I'm not going to say, hi, can I speak to, Jan Smith? Or I'm not going to say, hi, can you transfer me to Jan Smith? No. I'm not going to say, can you pass me along to Mrs. Smith, or can you transfer the call to Mrs. Smith? No. What I do is I use the first name only. The reason why I use the first name only and I ask it by first name is because I want them to have this feeling, these gatekeepers to have the feeling that I already know, Janet, for example. Why? Because nobody really asks these gatekeepers to have them transfer people by the first name. And if I'm first name basis with somebody, that makes it seem like I actually know the person. So when I call, I say, hi, can I speak to Janet, please? Now, there's more than one Janet. They're going to say, well, which Janet? Janet Smith. Can you please transfer me right now? I need to speak to her. Okay, so that is one quick technique to actually, most of the time is 50% of the time, they're going to transfer you right away. Why? Because they already have in this mindset that you know Janet already. So that is one technique that we share with the cold call techniques. Another one that I want to kind of give you guys is the tonality of your voice. So if you ring somebody's call or somebody calls you and they start off by saying, hi, can I speak to, Mrs. Smith, please? I want to be able to speak to her, please. Can you transfer the call? When you have that high pitch, the first thing that goes in your head is this is a sales call. So your tonality has to change. And this is something that we practice with a lot of the marketers that we work with. So you're going to say, hi, can you transfer me the call to Janet, please? Or can you say, hey, can you patch me to Janet? So my tonality goes in a level of a medium level and kind of going down, right? There's that transfer me to Janet, or pass me to Janet. So there's a command that kind of goes in there. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Michael, you're playing with people. You're manipulating people by doing that. No, it's not. Because if you watched our video series when we started talking about the mindset of selling, the first thing you have to put in your head is that you're not really selling, you're sharing something. If you have such an amazing product and you know you can create an impact for the patients, you're not manipulating people because you want to be able to give them a good product. And that's where you have to believe in the product that you're doing. So those are just quick techniques to be able to get those. Now, let's say, for example, you speak to Janet and you just say, hey, Janet, this is Michael. This is in regards to your patients that you guys have that goes home. I want to be able to, have an opportunity to sit down with you and take 30 seconds of your time or take 2.5 minutes of your time. I know you're busy, and so that's why I only want 2.5 minutes. When would be a good time for me to now see you? So if you see there, we talk about anticipating objections. I'm already anticipating that she's going to say she doesn't have any time. So by me addressing that I know she doesn't have any time and that she's busy and I only need 30 seconds or 2.5 minutes of her time to be able to introduce myself to her, that is not really going to be bothersome as much. And so, by me doing that, they may say yes or no. They may say yes, right? There's that 50% chance. And if they say yes, great. When would be a good time to be able to meet with you? Beginning, middle, the end of the week. Then they're going to say, for example, middle of the week's fine. Okay? So then I will say this. I said, great, middle of the week is perfect for me. Is it going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? Because when we talk about the sales process, and part of the sales process is you must offer choices, this is what we're doing here, is that we're giving them a choice. When would you want us to meet with you? Beginning, middle, or the end of the week? So they're going to choose one of those three. They say middle of the week, great. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? Then they're going to say either Wednesday. What I'm doing here, I'm giving them choices and slowly closing them. Great, so Wednesday will be perfect for you. Truly appreciate that. If you don't mind me asking one more question, do you want it the beginning, the middle, or the late in the afternoon? And they're going to say in the afternoon. Amazing. 3, 4, or 5 would work for you. And by the way, just want to be able to know when I come in, would you like me to bring you some donuts, some danishes? What would you want me to be able to bring to you that you would enjoy? So anyways, 3, 4, or 5. And they're going to say 4. Great. 4 o'clock is perfect. Janet, if you don't mind, I would like to be able to put your information into my calendar. Do you have an email so I can forward you this appointment? Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm really trying to get that commitment right there and then. And so they chose 4. So then I'll go over it. Great, Janet. So I just need 2.5 minutes of your time. We're going to talk at 4 o'clock. I'm going to stop by. You asked for a donut. I'm going to bring you a donut, definitely. Other than, you having to be in a meeting, is there any other reason other than a meeting that you would not be able to meet with me at 4 o'clock? Because what I'm doing is I'm really going to suffocate it and try to get that commitment from them. And when they say nothing, it's perfect, then you can say, great, I'm going to send you the information right now. Now, if Janet says, you know what, I may have a meeting. Because the thing, though, is one of the biggest objections that they'll say, one of the things for them to cancel your call is that they're going to say that they're going to be in a meeting. Or there was a meeting that's going to happen that day. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to really get them to recommit and to get them actually to look into their calendar. So that's one quick technique to be able to set up the appointment. It's being able to give them options and then cornering them to be able to, to a part where they made the decision for the time, the place, and everything. Okay? So that's one quick technique that we do to be able to have the appointment. And you guys have to understand, when it comes to appointments, okay, if you have an appointment, there's a 70% chance of you getting them to start referring patients to you compared to you actually going in cold. Because when you're going in cold, okay, you really are starting from fresh. You're doing the same exact thing of you doing a walk-in, because you might be able to do the presentation right there and then, or you may not. So what I try to do is I try to make all the phone calls I can when I'm going to do an attack and see if I can set up the appointments. And I try to hit all those people first that I can get an appointment in after I chose the 100 people that I want to attack. Okay, now if you guys are starting off and you guys are trying to get your foot in the door of trying to figure out this whole marketing scheme, you can drop it down to 50 people. I suggest drop it down to 75 the least. But if you need to drop it off to 50 people to give yourself time to be able to figure out how to market, that's perfectly fine. But I like 100, and so I can get more, right? So that's a quick technique to be able to get the appointment. And I told you guys the 70% chance of getting a new referral source if you actually set up the appointments, rather compared to you are just walking in out of the blue. Okay, so whatever your decisions are, it's up to you. Now, if let's say for example I can't get those appointments, those are the ones that I'm going to go cold walk-in. Now you guys may say, well, Mike, they didn't want to set up an appointment with you. I understand, but more likely they already forgot that they spoke to me. And that's the truth. People are working with you and they probably already forgot who you are. And it's just the part of the game. And keeping your name, your company in the forefront is what's important always, that you need to be able to create. All right. So that's creating your appointments. Now let's say for example you did your appointments, you're able to see them all. The next thing is you're going to start putting together a grid of the people that you're going to be coming in cold. Okay, so what we typically do is, I like to do is if I'm going to be targeting, let's say a 5-mile, 10-mile radius or 15-mile radius on the vicinity of where my main location is, what I'm going to do is I normally do a radius from that, a circular thing. So if I'm going to target within a 15-mile radius, draw a circle and create the 15-mile radius, and then divide that into quarters, right? And each quarter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the different cities, list all those cities down, figure out the places I want to be able, the places that I chose within that city, okay? And then do that as my hit for my Monday marketing, and then the second grid, Tuesday, third grid, Wednesday, fourth grid, Thursday. Okay, so that allows me to be able to make sure that the place I'm targeting is and are going to be within close proximity to each other. Because if they are in close proximity to each other, what happens is, what ends up happening for that is that I'm not losing a lot of time. I'm not spending a lot of money in gas when I'm doing these events. And so that's something that you guys have to kind of look into and make sure that, time is of the essence. Time is money. If you lose time, you lose potential referral sources. So by using a grid setup allows you to be able to then attack per grid or per quarter. And then what ends up happening is I take all those places I'm going to be visiting in that grid. And now sometimes, it may happen where you might actually have to split the grid up in two, because there's like so many places to go to within that grid, and that's perfectly fine. So what we end up doing is we then go to Google and we will map everything out. We will, in Google, you can do a direction search, and you can enter all the different addresses and start looking at your drive time and fix up who are right next to each other. And then you can do a roadmap, a planned attack on how you're going to be visiting, who's number one, the second person you're going to go to, third, fourth, fifth, and so forth, right? Because remember, it's about saving time. And a lot of these facilities, these hospitals, these nursing homes are pretty much connected or close to each other, so you can target them in the right way, okay? This allows me to plan everything out. You guys have to understand, when you market, you must do your research and you must plan your attack. Like I said, any of the countries out there who succeeded in a war created a plan of attack. Then they worked around their blitz attacks within that plan that they're doing. So by me being able to set up my logistics, my grid, I can seriously plan things out to the max as much as possible. Okay, so now let's talk about the walking in scenario. What are you going to face when you actually walk in? All right, so that's going to be in the next video that we have, and we want to be able to kind of give you guys a basic scenario of what you're going to face when you actually walk into these facilities.